Well, hey, hello everyone. This is a special one for me today. We had arranged this a little while ago, but I'm delighted to have someone back. I don't know where from, but we're going to get into that, now. But good friend of mine, and glad to have you back, Craig. Welcome to Lee Judges TV for the first time as well.
Yeah.
First time.
Thank you very much, mate. It's an absolute pleasure to be on here. How very professional, mate. How very professional. I'm delighted for you. I've always said to you, haven't I, since we've been doing stuff like this together, that you should do your own thing.
Yeah.
Finally, it's here, and it's really, really good, mate. Production. I watch it all the time. The production level's fantastic. You and Dan and everyone you have on's great. So yeah, congratulations, mate. Delighted for you, and a pleasure to be here.
Well, thank you very much. And listen, I couldn't have done it without you. You was the one that introduced me to all of this, and so I have a lot to owe you really, because you give me the platform to start doing podcasting and things like that. Which before that message that you sent me, I had not a clue what it was all about, and but I got on board, and we've been friends ever since, and it's been a good friendship, So. And of course, we met that time in Dublin. A great night that night.
Great day.
That was a top day. But and then of course we've got to talk about it, because I woke up one morning and got a message, and that was that. You cut short everything, and a lot of people, Craig, felt that we'd all had a bust up and things like that.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's not. And this is one of the greatest reasons why I've wanted to get you on to do this as well, because we know you've got your problems and issues and all that, and we want to talk about that. And if we can help someone along the way that goes through what you're going through, because from my point of view, I don't understand it because I haven't got it. So I just want to just talk about, what's gone on, what it is, the problems, and how you deal with it, mate. Because for me, I admire the way you do.
Well, yeah, that text message just before I start. Hello to everyone in the comments. Hello, thanks very much. Great to see you all back in here. Great to see all the familiar names in the chat box. Hello to you. I hope you're all doing well. That text message. I was in a bad place. It gets it's quite hard to talk about, but I was in a bad place then. And when you feel like the way I did, you forget about things that mean a lot to you, and you forget about people who mean a lot to you, and you just switch off from it all, and you make rash decisions, and you make stupid decisions, and that's just not with the podcast. That was in life in general. You make silly decisions. You say things to people that you don't mean. You take it out on people. You take it out to the people who are closest to you, because that's who you're with. Most of the time, your wife, my kids, things like that. And then, I'm lying in bed one night, and, for the people who are here, we've all had a chat. I've spoke to Dan, I've spoke to you, I've spoke to Mark, I've spoke to Harry, I've spoken to, most of you. I haven't spoke to Graham because I haven't had a chance to yet, but I spoke to Nigel as well. And that, at that particular point, and I've said it to you and I've said it to the lads, I didn't give a second thought to anyone. I didn't care. I didn't care about the podcast. I didn't care about you. Didn't care about Dan. Didn't care about Harry. Didn't care about nothing. Didn't care about the subscribers that have supported us for 5 years every week, and with everything we do. And I made a decision based on, I suppose, what my brain was telling me was right at the time. And of course, it was never the right idea. Well, sorry, it was never the right choice, because I should have. When I look back at it now, it's easy to say it now, isn't it? Because we've all had the chat, but
Of course.
it's easy to say it now. But instead of just going, instead of just cutting everyone off and cutting everyone out, I should have come and spoke to you or Dan or Mark or whatever, or all of you at the same time, and say, I'm having a bad time and I'm struggling. Can you carry it on for me, like what happened before? Dan was very good, and you were very good, and you carried it on for me when I fell off the wagon the last time. But yeah, so I owe an apology to you and the rest of the team, and I also owe an apology to the subscribers and people who have sort of supported us. But at the same time, I apologize. I want to make everyone clear that I wasn't in a good place. I wasn't, and I can sit here now and mull everything over, and I think to myself, God, I shouldn't have done that, and I shouldn't have done this. But what people have got to understand is when I was in that frame of mind, it didn't matter. It didn't matter to me. I didn't care. I didn't care. So yeah, I got overwhelmed by it all. I think all the social media. There were some people on social media talking about me bad, and and things like that. And I think it just all got on top of me, and I let it all get on top of me. I shouldn't, I shouldn't have let it get to that stage, but it did, and it happened, and it's history now, hopefully.
When you first and foremost, and Nigel said it as well, like there's no need to apologise. There is no need to apologise when you're going through depression and things like that, as you were. When you're going through that depression at that moment in time, does comments like when you just said like the comments, you straight away you brought up bad comments like were given to you. Is it when you're in that depressive state? This is what I want to get to people that are on social media and can be negative and things like that. When you're in a depression and you're really down and all that, does you not take notice of all the ones that are complimentary? No. Is it so? What I'm saying is, so when you're in that depression state, the ones that are negative and being nasty, they're the ones you do concentrate on, which is making the situation a lot worse, Craig, isn't it, for people? So you don't really know, like, say, for instance, no one at that moment in time, because I didn't know that you were suffering. So they just go on and attack you on social media, and really they're making it 100 times worse without even really knowing it. And that's the shocking thing about it, isn't it?
Well, you see, you will always find someone. You will always find that if someone is struggling mentally, or it doesn't have to be mentally, you're just struggling with everyday life, they will always keep a smile on their face. You'll never know. I mean, there's the proof in the pudding. We've known each other for 5 or 6 years now. Speak to each other. We spoke to each other every day, whether it be via text or on here or every Monday night, and you had no idea. So people can mask it very well. And you're dead right what you say. When you are down, and you're on Twitter and you're looking for something good to read, nothing ever comes. You scroll past them. All you're worried about is what people think of you and what people make of you, and you're not concentrating on the messages that say, "Great show. That was a great show this week. Well done. Thanks very much." There's hundreds of them every week, and I might get 2 or 3 ones that might say, "Oh, here he is again." The sad case, or I've had people tell me to man up and all this kind of stuff, and I've had people use my situation to try and gain likes and retweets and stuff. They'll put a tweet out about about me saying, you know, like I'm this and I'm that, and he needs to man up and he needs to cheer up and all this. You just don't, you know, people who do that kind of stuff, not just to me, but people who tweet that kind of stuff to people, just haven't got a clue. Haven't got a clue what they're doing, and they don't know what they're doing. And most of the people that do it have surprisingly enough lost people to, you know, to issues. Do you know? Loads and loads of people I see tweeting about, you know, loads and loads of people I see sending tweets back and forth. And some of the stuff I've seen, and then you go back and you look through, you have a look through these people's profiles, or, you know, they've actually lost someone. And here they are now on Twitter having a go at someone for the same thing. It makes no complete sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. But it just goes to show you what kind of people they are, I suppose.
Do you think, Craig, awareness has got to be shown? I mean this sincerely now. Listen, I get a bit of abuse on Twitter, like, you know what I mean, as everybody does. We all do, like, you know. But for me, you know, I can laugh it off. And I'm a different personality to someone like yourself, you know. So do you think it is awareness? Someone's, you know, awareness of what, not because, you know, because people wouldn't know that you was depressed, you know, at that moment in time, but the awareness of that somebody can be. Do you feel that awareness has got to be coming onto social media and things like that?
Oh, look, you got this thing, haven't you, about snowflakes. He's a snowflake. He gets easily offended, this, that, and the other. But I don't mind anyone coming to me on Twitter and giving me constructive criticism. I've got no problem with that. No problem whatsoever. People who are my mates have done it, have come to me, and I've got WhatsApps and saying, "Oh, you shouldn't do that bit in your show. You should do this bit in your show. It's getting a bit boring now." I listen to that, do you know? But when you've got people coming at you and calling you names and using your you know, your mental state or your issues to try and gain some traction for yourself, you know, that's wrong. That's really wrong. On all levels. I don't care who you are. To do that to someone, it's just, you know, it's the lowest of the low to me. To use their personal situation, or, you know, it doesn't have to be a mental thing. It can be, you know, that they haven't got any money, or they drive a shit car, or, you know, using that against someone is just, it's the lowest of the low for me. And I don't understand why people do it, Lee, to be honest. But awareness, just like, it's like everything in life, isn't it? Just, I suppose, just be aware, I suppose, of what people, just because I'm smiling and I'm laughing and I'm joking and or not just me, anyone, just don't be a div. That, you know, I don't get it. Like, Arsenal Twitter is disgusting at the best of times. Do you know? Some of the stuff that we see on social media, some of the things that are said to some of our players, to some of our fans, towards managers. I've been guilty of it in the past. I've always held my hands up there. You know, the Wenger out era, you can easily get sucked in and say some silly things or tweet some silly things. But awareness is a big part of it, I think. But I'm not saying that to people who subscribe to Same Old Arsenal. I'm not saying that to people who follow you or subscribe to you, because I know deep down in my heart that community that we've got, and that community that we have around us, you know, totally agree with us, you know, and I think that the fact that I've never hid it, you know, I've always been very, very outgoing about mental health issues. Going back 3 or 4 years ago, some people might remember that video I did. It got like 100,000 views in 5 days or something. It was just me explaining that I'd been to counselling, and when I first filled in the form, You know, when you go in and you sit down with the counsellor, there's a laptop put in front of you, and you have to fill in this form, and you have to try and fill it in as honestly as you can, and you fill it in, and then at the end you get a score. And I was high level, I was high risk. You know, I was high risk of, I suppose, doing something to myself. I'm not too sure, but I had counselling for 5 or 6 weeks, and after your last session, you're given the laptop again, and you fill out that form again, and you get another score. You know how you're feeling, and I passed it with flying colours. So the counselling obviously worked. But yeah, I've never hid it. I've had men DMing me, asking me advice, for how do I get over it? How do I get through it? What do I do? What things do I put into plan, and stuff like that. But the last episode, I didn't catch it in time, and there was a bit of a kerfuffle over the podcast and stuff like that.
What would your advice to be people that are in depression? Because again, I can only go from experience. Obviously, when my dad died, I was in a bit of a bad way, but I had good friends and family around.
Yeah.
Which obviously helps, and getting a bit emotional thinking about it. Grateful for the people around me at that time, and I suppose I could have got into depression at that stage, like anybody could do. If you are feeling depressed, Craig, what should you do? What is the best things to do? What advice would you give to people?
You need to talk to someone straight away. As soon as you get any inkling about how you're feeling, or any inkling, or any, what happens to me is I get this horrible weight. This horrible weight comes over me. It feels like someone's pushing down on my head, and they won't let it up. And as soon as I start feeling like that, I know, something's wrong. So my advice is that the first step is like anything, Lee, like being an alcoholic, like being addicted to gambling, like being a drug addict. The first thing you've got to do is admit, well, hang on, this ain't right. I can remember when it first happened to me, and I can remember why it started happening to me, and I can remember why I've always had anxiety since. I had a job. Obviously won't name it, but I was working in a job, and this is going to sound pathetic, but I was bullied. I was bullied at work for my race, and you turn a blind eye to it. You laugh about it for the first couple of weeks, and you think, oh yeah, do you know, I mean, I'm the only Englishman there, and all this kind of thing, but then it starts to get on you. You're getting phone calls in the middle of the night, this, that, and the other. You go to work, you report it. No one wants to know. It's a very taboo subject. Everyone scares away from it and stuff like that. But that was the first time. I came home from work one day, and I burst into tears in front of my wife, and she was like, "Oh my God, like, what's going on here?" And I explained to her what was happening, and she said, "Well, we need to get you to the doctor." And I was like, no, I don't need to go to the doctor. I don't need to go to the doctor. I'm fine. But the more you deny it, the more, the worse it gets. And so I went, and it was the best thing I ever did. So I went to the doctor, and we spoke, and I told him about how I was feeling. And my doctor actually said, in all my years of being a doctor in this town, I've never had a man come to me and tell me about how he's feeling. Never. He said, so I'm a bit taken aback. He says, although I know how to deal with it, I know, and he can find me the supports and stuff, but he was like, wow, I've never had a man come in here and spill his heart out like that and tell me exactly what's wrong with him. So, it's been, it's about 2007, I suppose, 2006, 2007. So ever since then, I've been I've been on and off of medication. I've been to various counselling sessions. I've been to various workshops. I've been to, CBT therapy and stuff like that have helped. But at the end of the day, it's not going to go. It's here, and I'm not going to just wake up one morning and, oh yeah, great, I've done that course. I've got no mental health issues anymore. It's all about how you deal with it. It's all about how you open up about it, and it's all about how you talk about it. The more you talk about it, and the more the more you talk about it, and the more you can get more people in the circle that you trust. Like I'm on a WhatsApp group here. It's an Arsenal fan group on WhatsApp for people who have got problems, and we all chat to each other. And people text in and they go, "I'm feeling shit today, and I've done this and I've done that, and this is how I'm feeling." And we all chat it out. And normally, and hopefully, that person goes away and feels a bit better about themselves. Not just because they've had a chat, but just to realise that there's other people. There is other people out there. You're not on your own. It's more and more common now for people to have these kind of problems, and especially now with the time the time we find ourselves in. COVID, people losing their jobs, people not being able to go to work. Christmas time, whether we've got COVID or not, Christmas time can be a very worrying and highly anxious time for some people. And you've got to try and sit back, and you've got to try and make calculations about how you need to respond yourself, because ultimately the only person that can help you is you. The only person that can help me is me. I have to, if I get bad, I have to just say, right, I have to go and see the doctor. I have to go and see the doctor. My wife has been the most supportive person ever. She completely gets it. She completely understands that sometimes I can get upset and sometimes I can get down, and situations can get to a point. And like, I live here in Ireland on my own. I moved here 21 years ago, and yes, I've got friends, and yes, I've got people who I would say are close mates, but my poor wife has bared all the brunt of everything, and my kids as well. I've never, I've got to be careful what I say. I've never, there's never been any, there's never been anything violent or anything like that, but they need to understand that sometimes when they see dad quiet, or they see dad upset, or they see dad angry to a point, that it's not them, and that he just needs 5 minutes to chill out, and this, that, and the other. I mean, 3-4 weeks ago, I suppose, everything got to a horrible point, and I had to go. I went out in the car, and I was going to go to the hospital, and I came home, and I came in the door, and my wife followed me up the stairs, and I just burst into tears. I was on the floor here, right here, on the floor, crying like a baby, and the door was closed, and the kids were, "What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong?" And for them to see their dad on the floor crying, when I'm supposed to be this pillar of strength for them, and they're seeing me crumble. Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult. It's just difficult to talk about it as well. Sorry, one sec.
That's bloody. It's frightening, isn't it? Like, you know, that this can get you like that, and you know, I think this is something that has to be addressed, Craig. You've got family and things like that, like, you know, and when people are being nasty to other people, not just the effect that it has on you yourself personally, it's other people around you and all that, like, you know. And
there's a massive effect. It's not just me, is it? You know, it affected, the knock-on effect is massive. It affected me. It affects my family. It affected the podcast. So, you know, people can say, "Oh, podcast doesn't matter, come back," but it matters to me, you know, because it was my
seeing you as you are, Craig, now, people can going to get nasty, and there's been some funny comments like saying, "Oh, Craig's like back and forth again, giving up the podcast, giving it, doing this, doing that," like, you know. But when they see what you're like here, saying something like that is such a bad thing to say. You see, so if you've got something, if you ain't got nothing nice and positive to say nothing at all. That's my motto, like, you know. And I know you're in a better place and all that now, and you know, I just got to alliterate from my point of view. I didn't know how bad all this was. You know what I mean? We spoke even every now. I tell the viewers now and the people that listen and all that. I was a little bit pissed off, if I'll be honest, that you done it, like, you know, and we'd still talk, but I was a little bit, you know, not angry, but like a little bit let down that done it, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't until we spoke a little while ago that I realised how bad it had come. And the thing is now, as I've said, and I'll say to every listeners and everybody watching this, like, you know, we could go through 6, we could go through another year of great stuff and everything like that, as we do and have a lot of that, and this could happen again, you know. And I, as I said to you, and I say it to the people listening to that, so what if it does? If it does, it does, and we will deal with it, like, you know what I mean? Like, and that's how you got to go on in life, I suppose, and with this hanging over you all the time.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, you know, I've spoken, you know that I've spoken to Dan. Dan's been, you know, a massive supporter of what we do on the Same Old Arsenal, and me and Dan have had conversations, and if it does happen again, there's plan B. You know, it doesn't stop, it carries on. Dan takes over, simple as that. And if it happens again, I'll be out for as long as I need to be out for, and Dan carries on. So, which is what I should, you know, which is what have happened, which is what should have happened if I'd have done it properly, if I'd have approached you all and, you know, and done it properly. But like I said, people just need to realise that I wasn't in a, you know, there was no time for rational thought. It was just, you know, yeah, do it, cancel it, do it.
Can I ask a question? How is the wife and kids at this moment in time?
My wife and kids are great. Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, absolutely. My wife and kids are
great. It's upsetting me seeing you like this, and even now, like, you know. So
look, you know, it's just I only got emotional there because I'm talking about my family, you know.
Yes, of course. But they're all okay, and
yeah, of course, yeah. They're all cool. They know the story.
Well, when you're going
as a man who has a wife and kids to, you know, to support and stuff,
when you've got kids and things like that, Craig, and you're going through depression, I think it needs to be said as well. Like, you know, I know your wife and your kids and all that. Like, you know, you've got a lovely family and all that. Like, when you're going through this depression, do you think about them when you, or is that irrelevant?
It's all irrelevant.
And that's unbelievable, isn't it? Like,
yeah, it is. And we've you know, I remember a couple of years ago we were talking about the same thing, and like there was times when I didn't even want to come home from work. I was that depressed, like, I can't go back there. I can't go back there listening to all the shouting and the roaring and arguing, and, do you know. But that's how you feel, and I've always grasped the fact that is how you feel, and you have to you have to find a way to get around it, and I did that time.
Yeah, that's the positive. You have done that. That's what let's try and get onto the positive side of it now, which you have, which is fantastic, and you're in a great place now. How has that come about, Craig?
I suppose just going back to what I've learned over the many years. I've been seeing counsellors and getting the expertise, getting the getting the opinions of professionals, and being given the tools to deal with things. But there's always going to be a time when you're going to fall off the wagon. And when was it? I can't remember. It was only, what was it, just before the start of the season, wasn't it? I fell off. I fell off that wagon, and I had to try and I had to get back on. I had to get back on it, and it's taken me as long as it has up to now to get back on it. But I'm back on it again. So we move on. We move.
That's good to see. It's good to see Craig back, and obviously, like the podcast coming back next week, which is a good thing. Obviously, getting you on here today is a good thing as well. Just give us a little bit about the background of you, because probably some people will know and some probably won't on here. Like, how come you're stuck over in Ireland for 21 years?
Stuck over in Ireland. Yeah, I'm not stuck here. This is my home now. I love this country. This is my home now. I've actually this year officially lived in Ireland longer than I did live in England. So this is my home now. It's a beautiful country with beautiful people. It's a great spot. I mean, you came over to Dublin and you experienced it only for 12 hours. But I've experienced it for 21 years, and Ireland's a great place. And it's a great place to bring up my kids. I live in a beautiful area. I've got everything I'd ever need around me. I've got a great job with very supportive bosses, with a great team. So at this moment in time, everything's good. How did I end up here? Well, I was when I was living in England. I left school at 16, and I went straight into a job in an estate agent's office, and making cups of tea for the boss and doing all the photocopying and basically all the jobs that no one else wanted to do. But as if people don't know, I've got quite a way with words, and I've got a little bit of a gift of the gab, I suppose. And I think the boss of the place saw that, and he made me a junior negotiator, which meant basically that I was selling houses. At 16, 17 years of age. I was driving around in posh company cars at 17. People were like waiting to see these fellas. We used to do viewings, and people would be at the house, and out jumps this 17-year-old Essex wide boy who thinks he's the bee's knees, jumping out of a brand new car, showing him around the house. But done a little bit of bar work as well. And one day I got a phone call from a fella who was from my hometown of Clacton-on-Sea, and he said he could get me a job if I want. I'd had enough of it and come to Ireland. So I did. And I remember getting here thinking, oh my God, what have I done? And I said to myself, oh God, this is awful. It was a massive culture shock. You turn up to a place and there's no, this is going to sound ridiculous. There's no McDonald's in the town. There's no JD Sports. There's no HMV. There's no, and I'm like, all there is takeaways and pubs. So, I was thinking, it's a small town of 4,000 people. And I've moved away from a town that had 60, 70,000 people in it, and I was like, oh no, I don't like this one bit. But I said to myself, you know what? I've got a return flight booked. I'll stay there. I'll stay till Wednesday. I've got a return flight booked, and I'll go from there. And the rest is history, Lee, as they say. Never came home. Stuck it out, and I have a beautiful wife and a beautiful family, and it's all good.
All good, like, you know, and of course, this talk about the love for Arsenal didn't diminish because you went to Ireland.
Well, no, you see, a lot of people know, a lot of people that know me and know us and know the story. I've got a massive affiliation with Ipswich Town as well. I've never hid that fact. I always watch them as well, and I always watch out for their results. I went to Ipswich a lot when I was younger. Probably went to more Ipswich games than I did Arsenal games when I was younger, because I had free tickets. It was a lot closer, and I could go whenever I wanted to. The Arsenal thing is complete. It's a complete family thing. My dad was an Arsenal fan when he was younger. I can remember watching my first game on telly. I know people will say it's a cliche, but the first Arsenal game I can ever remember watching on telly was Liverpool Arsenal in 1989. I can remember it vividly. I can remember watching it. I can remember my dad jumping up and down and throwing me and my brother around the room. But Arsenal, even though Arsenal was in the family, I suppose at the time I was more an Arsenal fan, but an Ipswich supporter. I think that. But Arsenal was always in me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Arsenal was always in me. I can remember when we played Arsenal in the quarter-final, or should I say, I can remember when Arsenal played Ipswich in the quarter-final of the Cup at Portman Road. I think Ian Wright scored a hat-trick that day. Kevin Campbell.
4-1.
Yeah, Kevin Campbell got one. 4-2, I think.
4-2.
Yeah, 4 or 5. It could have been 5. I know Ian Wright got a hat-trick that day anyway, and Kevin got one. And I can remember like kind of cheering for both teams. It was a strange experience. But over the years, over the years, like, Arsenal became more dominant, and Arsenal are my team, and they always have been, really.
With Ipswich, if I've got a little affinity, it's more to the Norwich side because of what Ipswich.
Oh, don't say that.
No, just what Ipswich done to us in the cup, in the FA Cup, back here.
Roger was actually what was his second name? Roger
Osborne.
Roger Osborne. He was actually one of my coaches when I was at Ipswich. Him and John Walk were around the place all the time when we trained. We trained on Thursday nights at the ground, just behind the players' tunnel. There was a big AstroTurf pitch. That's got a massive flight of stairs to get to it. There was a big AstroTurf, but indoor AstroTurf pitch, and that's where we used to train. And then there was a viewing area for the parents up high. But yeah, Roger Osborne, Brian Klug, John Walk, Phil Parks, all around us while we were there. So it was massive. Yeah, it was massive.
Yeah, quality. And that's why you got the affiliation with Ipswich as well, like proper stadium, Portman Road as well. Like, I miss going
so great. So honestly, I've been through every emotion possible. All the grounds that I visited watching Arsenal and Ipswich. I'm just a fanatic. I'm a football fanatic. I'm not the most technically minded when it comes to football. Like Graham or yourself or Dan or Harry. I'm not the most technically minded, but I'll watch any game. I don't care who's playing. I sit here. I watch Boca Juniors and River Plate. I watch Ipswich, Arsenal. I travel up and down to the city here. I'm a season ticket holder at the Cork City here. I followed them all over the country. I just love football. I love being at football, and I just love everything that surrounds it. And I'm trying to get, I'm getting my oldest daughter has taken a massive interest in football now, which I'm so happy about. And that came from the Euros. She sat down and she watched all the Euro games with me. And she's got into it in a very big way. So that's good because she's always wanting to go. I took her to her first Cork City match there about 6 weeks ago.
Playing.
Yeah, so she loved it. She got to see her first international game. It was Ireland under-18s, but I took her up, and she bagged a picture with the captain. So she was delighted with life.
Wow, that's brilliant, So, and that's what football's about. Football is like for me when I go football. So if I go, I don't know, even when I'm going up to Manchester like last week, you have to go past Coventry's ground and Aston Villa's ground and also Walsall's ground. I have to have a look at the ground.
Yeah,
Do you know, like sitting.
I'm like you. I love. I mean, like even when me and Aisling got engaged, we were supposed to get married in Rome. And at the time, her uncle's a priest, and at the time, he was the head of some church in Rome, and he invited us over, and we stayed with him. And the first thing I said to him was, "How far are we away from the Olympic Stadium?" And he said, 10 minutes away on a bus. I was like, right, what bus? So he says, go down there, get the number 83, and it'll take you there. So I said, right. And me and Aisling jumped on the bus, and it was one of the first things I did. I had to go and see it. I had to go and see it with my own eyes. You see it on the telly so many times.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And I had to go and see it. And it wasn't just the stadium, it was everything around it, because obviously it's Olympic Stadium. There was a lot of stuff around it to do with the Olympics. From when the Olympics was in Rome. So it was amazing walking around it and having a look. Unfortunately, I didn't get to go inside it, but just to be outside it was
just
enough. Just to say, I've been there.
Yeah, I remember like when I was doing that thing for the BBC, it was right by Millwall's ground, and I thought, I've never been to Millwall. I've never, never ventured there for obvious reasons, but I thought I had to go and have a look at it. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm walking around Millwall's ground then. Because
I think it's important. I think it's important to go and have a look at other people's grounds, because it's all very nice having Highbury as it was, and it's all very nice having the Emirates. A nice modern. Well, it's not so modern anymore, is it, compared to some of the others? But I think it's always good to go and humble ourselves that we're quite lucky that we support Arsenal, and we're very lucky to support a Premier League team. We've been we've been blessed with some of the stuff that we've seen. We've been blessed to have seen what some of the stuff we have seen. The Invincibles, Thierry Henry, Dennis Bergkamp. They're just names. The names go on. I'm sure there's loads of names that you could give me from when you first started going to watch Arsenal. But you can remember, you can sit back when you're in a ground, like, let's say for example, when you're in a ground like, well, let's take when you went away to that game in the FA Cup, didn't you? Against who was that team we played in the FA Cup? They were non-league.
Sutton.
Mm.
I played well like that. Right?
You got to sit back and look around and go, bloody hell.
Oh yeah,
these people come here every week to support this team.
Yeah, unreal.
Do you know what I mean? We're very, we're very. I think we take it for granted a little bit, supporting a Premier League club.
It's a different world. It's a different world.
Course.
Premier League's a different world, and anybody in the Premier, I love Bournemouth's a great ground to go and all that. Sometimes the smaller grounds are better, because you feel a bit more connected to the club and all that.
Yeah.
Listen, before we go, we've got to have this opportunity to quickly talk about what's happened today. Miles will talk about it while we're on here, about Aubameyang and the loss of captaincy. A big thing as far as I'm concerned. What's your thoughts about that? And
first of all, I'm with Arteta on it. You can't have a player, let alone your captain, act like that. You can't. And you've always, me, and I've always had this gripe about the captaincy of Arsenal since Tony Adams. I don't think we've ever. I mean, you could have an argument for Gilberto Silva, but I think after Tony Adams, we've never had a real captain like Tony Adams ever again.
Vieira was.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I've missed Mr. Obvious there, haven't I? Vieira. Okay, since Vieira, we haven't really had a captain like Vieira or Adams. ever again. You know, we've had Gallas, we've had Van Persie, Fabregas. Van Persie, Fabregas given the captaincy to try and keep him here, but didn't work. We've given the captaincy to Theo Walcott on his birthday. Oh, it's your birthday today, is it, Theo? Oh, there you go. You can be captain today, mate. Like, you know, this thing about the captain's armband at Arsenal for the past God knows how many years has really, you know, it grinds my gears. I can't just understand why we just can't find someone who we can give it to. But then I saw a great tweet earlier saying that I could probably name 3 or 4 players to you now who I'd give it to. Whereas 5 years ago, we'd be sitting here going, bloody hell, who we give it to? Do you know? I think he's right in what he done. I think there's much more to it because I watched the press conference and you can just tell by the way Mikel Arteta was talking and by his body language that it wasn't just because he was late. It wasn't just because he breached a rule. There's got to be something else behind it for you to take the captaincy off him and then drop him as well. I think there's big things happening behind the scenes. I'm disappointed because I love Aubameyang. I love him. He's a great player, great goal scorer. I think giving him the armband has given him a great weight and a great pressure. Since people say, "Oh, what about the goals in the FA Cup?" You have to forget about that now. The FA Cup was, that was 2-3 years ago. We can't keep going back to, oh yeah, but he done this and he done that. Yeah, but that was then. This is now. He's not doing it now. It's not the player that we've all seen. For me, if I had to give it to someone, there's a great shout in there for. I mean, a lot of people have been calling for Gabriel to get it. It's a great shout, but I'm not too sure about Gabriel's vocabulary at the moment. I'm pretty sure I'm right in saying that he's still got very broken English. So for me, Gabriel would be out on that because I want you want an English speaking captain. Kieran Tierney, another one that we were all calling to be captain, but over the last few weeks, I think we've seen Kieran Tierney injuries at the moment. Can we count on him to be captain with his injury problems? And the other two for me that are standouts are Ben White and Aaron Ramsdale. Aaron Ramsdale, right? If you could invent someone or draw someone or create someone and say, right, I'm going to put this lad on the pitch and this lad will show everyone how privileged and how proud it is to play for Arsenal, you'd make Aaron Ramsdale. That kid absolutely loves Arsenal. You can see, I mean, that goal, when that celebration he done, when Lacazette put us 1-0 up the other day, he's sliding across the box on his knees. When have you ever seen that from anyone else before? This kid took his granddad's ashes to his contract signing. That's how much it means to come and play for Arsenal. He's a massive candidate for me. And people say, "You're mad. He's only been here. He's only this. He's only that." If you've got it in your locker, you should be given a chance. And and people are saying Ben White never. Well, could Ben White be the new captain of this new era that Arteta's trying to bring to us? Is he trying to bring these young fellas through? Could Ben White be that fella? Could Aaron Ramsdale be that fella? Could it be Kieran Tierney? But I think the biggest thing about it, is that we've got 4 or 5 people that could be captain. And as I said 5 years ago, if we had this conversation 5 years ago, we'd be scratching our heads, going, "Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Who do we give it to? I'll just give it to him. Yeah, I'll just give it to him. He's been here the longest. Might as well just give it to him." I really hope that Aubameyang comes back, and I really hope that this is not the end for him. I really hope that he goes away and he sits down and he has a think about what he's done and who he is and what he represents. But if the badge is too heavy, then go. But I'd love to see him come back and just do what he does bestly, and that's score goals.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think with Aubameyang, I think that I don't want to see a token captaincy like no more, like token gesture. Give it to the best man, give it to this, give it to that. Give it to someone that's going to lead this young team through. And I think there's a few candidates. I think Gabriel's a good shout. Tierney, I think was nailed on for it, but injuries do put me off a little bit. Like, Ramsdale, been fantastic. I also think that Ben White, I don't see what people are saying. What because he's not that vocal. If you lead by example, that can be one for me. But one I'm going to go on the outside the box, if you like, is Udegaard, captain of Norway. So I wouldn't, 22 years of age. So I think it'd be very interesting. I don't think he's got to make a real rash decision about this at this moment in time.
No.
I think maybe you've got Lacazette there at the moment. So, but I know what I want to see. I want to see one of our defenders, like maybe because I'm old school. It was always like central defenders and midfield players. I remember playing for captain. I won't name him, but he wasn't the best player I ever played with, but as a leader, he was a central defender. He was just a no-nonsense central defender. Supported Millwall, funny enough, but he was just, if he was not having a bad game, but you just didn't feel like he was up for it that game. He'd inspire you, he'd motivate you, put the arm around you, give you a rollicking. He was just a proper man, you know what I mean? Like and led by example. That's what I want to see for the captain. I think Tony Adams is very much in that mould. And listen, it's not about. For me, things that happened because like Tony Adams wasn't perfect. Let's have that quite right. He wasn't no perfect role model, but I'd imagine that he was there on time, and when he trained, and things like that. And the biggest thing for me is that when you've got a young crop of very, very young players that need leading, you've got to have the right example around them, right? And I'm sorry that Aubameyang has let himself down and let Arteta down on this. And I think it's the right decision. It's got nothing to do with form, nothing to do with form whatsoever. It's a disciplinary thing that, it's been happening probably a little bit too often. Is there a way back for him? Well, listen, that time will tell that night. But, I would say that when that happened with Xhaka, if someone had said to me he'll still be at the club 2 years later, I wouldn't have believed it. But he is. So there is always a chance to come back, and we'll have to wait and see. And but a big decision for the manager. And I'm not a lover of Arteta. If I'll be honest, I think there's got to do a lot to convince me. But I'm going to back him on this one. I think it's the right decision, right?
Yeah, it's a decision he shouldn't make hastily. It's a decision that he needs to think about. And I hope, he doesn't do all this name in a hat stuff and who do you, like Emery did. Let's vote.
Big decision, mate. Big decision. This is a big decision that he does now. You know what I mean?
This could make him. This could make him or break him.
Yeah, and let's be honest about it. People are saying, about. This is not Mikel's choice. Mikel never named Aubameyang captain. He was given the captaincy under Emery era. So this is a big call for the manager. So another big decision. Does Aubameyang want to play for Arsenal? We'll find out in January. I think that we'll find out. I don't think the system and the style suits his play, if I'll be honest, and I think that's not down to Aubameyang. I think he's worked hard. I think that's down to the manager and the system that he plays. But ultimately, we'll have to wait and see. And
absolutely.
Right, well, we're done, Craig. Thanks for coming on and sharing that experience, because I think that very, very brave of you, and I think that if we can help anybody who ever watches this podcast and help someone out. As you said, I think over Christmas time it can be a bad time as well. And
people just need to remember, and I've always lived by this saying, people need to remember it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah,
but you just need to whether it's you just need to find someone who you can talk to. I've been that person for people here, where I live, and they they send me a message on Facebook. Can I talk to you? Yeah, cool. And I ring them up. I've got friends in England who I've rung up, and they want to have a chat. It doesn't have to be anyone it doesn't have to be anyone directly in your circle. It can be a fella at work. Can be a woman at work, can be someone who you're pally with at work and only at work kind of thing. We've all got mates at work. We've all got people who we work with, but we don't socialise with. It could be someone like that, but it's just important that it's important that you realise that it's okay. It's not. There's not a massive stigma attached.
And I think, like, in the chat, people have been saying how brave you are, and that just shows you what people think. Like, it is a big, strong thing to do. And if anybody is out there feeling a bit down and depressed, talk to someone, pick up the phone, and share what you're going through. Because at the end of the day, life is very, very important. And I'm going to be honest, life's short, so take care of it, and take care of yourselves. Just before we go, Craig, same old Arsenal is back, and I've let everybody know when it is.
Yeah, mate. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's back on Monday, 9 o'clock. I think that's going to be our new time now. I think it kind of suits everyone, doesn't it? We'll be coming back. The main show will be returning on Monday, 9 o'clock, 20th of December. And then obviously I had other things planned as well for the start of the season. So I've been in contact with those people as well. So there'll be a few new bits, a few new faces, and looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to getting back on the grind and talking about Arsenal with you, Lee, Dan, and everyone else. And I'm looking forward to everyone returning into the chat box. Nigel will be there, making sure you're all being well behaved. Nigel the legend back in the chat box. Mark, Dan, Lee, Harry, Graham. Not all at the same time every night, but back again.
Brilliant, fantastic news. Craig, thanks for coming on. That's it. We're done. We're out of here. Listen, big game tomorrow. Let's hope Arsenal can get the 3 points and get us into, I think, fourth place now, because Man United are not playing. So, we could be going into fourth.
Up to fourth, eh?
Which would be an unbelievable roller coaster. It's a massive game, so let's just hope the Arsenal do well. Like, enjoy the day, enjoy the rest of your evening, and of course, enjoy the game tomorrow. Come on, you Gunners, and we'll see you very, very soon.